I sewed the indie pattern that the sewing community is all talking about. That's the Pogonip Pullover by the Friday Pattern Company. I'm going to talk about the pattern first, and then I'm going to talk about my make and give you some tips for dealing with some of these thick seams. The Pogonip is designed for both woven and knit fabrics. It's classified as an intermediate sew because of these welt pockets. They're a little bit tricky, but they're great instructions, and I would not let this stop you from sewing this fantastic jacket. As with most Friday Pattern Company patterns, it comes out first as a PDF and then becomes available in printed. Right now, it is only available in PDF. It does come in their full size range from extra small to 7X. Now, the Pogonip has the finished garment measurements the same for the chest, waist, and hip. You do notice that it is gathered in here by a 1-inch elastic. I did sew my usual size in Friday Pattern Company, which is 1X. They draft for a height of 5'6". For frame of reference, I am 5'4". I have 10 inches of ease in the pattern, so I thought for a hot minute about sizing down and decided against this, mainly because this is a piece of outerwear and I wanted room to layer up. I'm very happy with the size that I chose. The pattern instructions are fabulous. They have something for everyone. If you're an experienced sewist and you just want to get right down to business, they have an overview of all the steps listed 1 through the number of steps in the sewing pattern, so you can at a quick glance sew this up. If you want more, there are detailed instructions along with line drawings, and at no time did I have trouble wondering what was what and what went where. If you're a visual learner, Friday Pattern Company has 2 sew-along videos that go along with this pattern. There's one dedicated to this welt pocket since it is a little bit tricky, and it is very clearly explained. The other one is just a full overview of constructing this fantastic pullover. I knew immediately when I saw the Pogonip Pullover that I wanted this in my wardrobe. I like all the versions, and I like the placket when it is closed and when it's open. Has a very different look. When I was looking at the samples, I wanted all of them. I loved the quilted version in the hot pink. Emma from Sew Do It Emma has sewn a quilted version. And the linen one was the one that totally stole my heart. I wanted to exactly copy that. That Fabric Godmother linen viscose blend is just perfection. But I am on a journey to use the fabric in my stash, and this was the perfect opportunity to use this very stable, heavy knit fabric. This is a Lady McElroy French terry with very little stretch. It says 15% stretch, but I'm not sure that it stretches that much. I used a little less than 2 yards of fabric, and with this being a solid color, it goes with many things in my wardrobe. The Friday Pattern Company block fits me really well, and I love their aesthetic. For the past 2 years, I have done my favorite make of the year, and in both years, it was a Friday Pattern Company pattern. In 2022, my favorite make was the Ilford jacket, and my 2023 make was the Donny shirt. This Pogonip Pullover, I know we're really early in 2023. I love it so much. It could very well be a contender for 2024. I have more fabulous plans for this year, so we'll have to wait and see. Will we have another Friday Pattern Company for the win of my favorite make of the year? I like how the seams around the collar and the front placket are all enclosed, so that gives a really neat finish if you choose to wear the placket open. You're not seeing serged seams. It's all nice and neat. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but I love when I look at my jackets on a hanger and I see the nice, neat, clean finish. Also, I know that means that this is going to wear really well because the seams are enclosed. Style-wise, I love the elasticated sleeves. I think it gives it a really nice look, and how it pulls in at the hem. I may need to insert some photos so you can get a better view of this. Now, I have to be honest, when I tried this on, before I added the casing for the sleeves and for the elastic at the waist, I was a little bit meh about this project. It's oversized and it just looked big, shapeless. And I questioned whether I would enjoy this and get more wear of it other than around the house. As soon as I put the elastic in the casing on the sleeve and the waist, it all came together and it was love. So even though it still has a lot of ease, with the elastic bringing it in, it just gives it that design and style that made me fall in love with the pattern in the first place. Now, I live in the Charleston, South Carolina area, and we don't get a lot of cold. This is a very thick and heavy French terry, and this will be perfect for most winter days. If it is a little colder than a normal winter day, I can layer up underneath it. There's plenty of room. And this is going to keep me so cozy. I want to talk about my fabric choice and how that affected my sewing project. This is a very heavy French terry. It's cotton, very little stretch. The things that make it a fabulous pullover also made it difficult to work with. I made a couple of choices that I might do differently if I had a do-over. This is very heavy, as I said, and the pattern calls for several pieces to be interfaced. That made for some very bulky seams. The collar, maybe I could have got away with only interfacing one side of it. And the placket, if I were to do buttons, I think I would only interface half of the piece. The same for the collar and the placket. It's one piece that's folded over. Because I chose to put in these heavy utility snaps, I definitely am glad that I interfaced the full piece of fabric. Makes it very sturdy. My Viking sewing machine did struggle going over the seams. I was using a walking foot, but this was a lot for it. After struggling to get the collar and the placket in, when I moved to attaching the upper front and the lower front is where the pocket is. I decided enough of the struggle. I moved over to my Juki sewing machine. It's a TL 2010Q, and I used a size 90 needle, and it went through this like the boss. All of my other seams in sewing, I used my Viking with the walking foot and the Meriflex thread. Any of my seams that weren't enclosed, I did finish with my serger. I was sure to serge those seams because another thing about this fabric was it does fray. I knew I wanted to use these brass utility spring snaps on my pullover. I thought it would give it a nice outerwear look. To be double sure that I wouldn't accidentally rip out my snaps, opening and closing them, I did a test sample. I opened and closed these many times with nothing that resembles gentleness, a lot more force than needed, but I wanted to make sure that these snaps are going to stay put. I purchased the snaps from Cam Snaps and installed them using my table press. I do plan to do a review of the Cam Snaps table press and the various bits that I have. I was just too excited to finish my pullover to do a tutorial while making it. I absolutely love my Pogonip. I'd love to know if you're planning on making the Pogonip. I'm thinking about making another one in this gorgeous copper linen. If you have any questions about the sewing process or the pattern, hit me up below. I'd be happy to help.